Grant Shapps is not always that present. Even when you're talking to him, he seems to be somehow distant and somehow engaged in something else. But he's given an interview to the Times today in which he is quite confident that Putin is bluffing, that Putin is not serious about his war in Ukraine. I'm not convinced Grant Shapps is on the ball. I'm not convinced he's right. He started the interview by talking about Johan Gallant and Benny Gantz and agreeing that there has to be a plan in Israel for the day after the Gaza siege. There must be a Palestinian peace. I would like to have heard him say there must be a two-state solution, and we endorse the United Nations General Assembly, and it needs to go to the Security Council, and we need to recognize Palestine in exactly the same way as in 1948 we recognized the State of Israel. The fact that both states were predicated on a certain amount of terrorist activity, that's how the cookie crumbles. Neither state has been defined by terrorism, but there has been an element of terrorist activity in the establishment of the State of Israel, and there's certainly an element of terrorist activity at the moment in the Gaza struggle. But I think recognizing the State of Palestine is not rewarding terrorism. It's recognizing the reality of the civilian structure and recognizing the horror that they're going through in exactly the same way as the United Nations recognized the horrors of the Holocaust and the need to find a permanent home, a home that Jews could look to in times of tension. And that home is not secure at the moment. Netanyahu's bullish defiance of the international world doesn't make that home any more secure. Netanyahu seems at the moment to be forging ahead with the 800,000 people displaced in Rafah with a full-scale operation in Rafah in defiance of appeals by Biden and by Cameron. But there's nothing new in this attitude of Netanyahu, is there? And I don't think it's enough just to get aid in, and it's not enough simply to appeal to Israel to, quote, keep the rules. We have to be proactive with securing the future of Gaza and the future of Palestine. And that means recognizing a two-state solution. And if Israel don't want to recognize it, it must be imposed. It's perfectly straightforward for the Security Council to endorse a recognition of the state of Palestine. Then Grant Shapps goes on to talk about Ukraine. Can we be confident that Ukraine will prevail? And he goes on and on and on about getting his package through. Frankly, he sounds like Kwasi Kwateng. The last time I heard so much about packages, it was about Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwateng, and I mocked it then and I mock it now. I don't understand why we have to hear all these package stories. Getting the package through. Well, the point is that package should never have been interrupted. That package was thwarted by the selfish and self-obsessed pomposity of the American system. And thankfully they've seen the right thing to do now, but it's all a bit late. And because of what Grant Shapps says is taking the eye off the ball. So many metaphors here. Russia has been making gains around villages around Kharkiv, and that's the consequence of America's dithering. But Shapps is quite clear. Putin cannot keep going. He is bluffing if he thinks that an eternal war can be funded by his country. Well, I don't have as much confidence in sanctions as Grant Shapps clearly does. The package coming over the hill. Oh my God, it's back to the package. He talks about the package coming over the hill. First of all, getting your package through, then the package coming over the hill. Can't keep the package down. It's as if he's been bewitched by the prodigious package of Kwasi Kwateng, and the language from one area has been transposed into another. The language of Kwasi Kwateng has been ridiculed to death, and though I'm quite happy to ridicule Grant Shapps's package, which I think, I don't think it's worth much more than a snigger, but we can bring out the big boys of ridicule if he really wants to keep going on about the package, getting the package through. And then finally, he goes on to talk about the fact there aren't enough planes to celebrate D-Day properly, and that he's only just heard about this. He's the Secretary of State for Defence. Why can he be surprised by information? Grant Shapps is keen to commemorate the event, and also to celebrate the 2.5% uplift. Is that more of a package that he has secured on the defence budget? But then he goes off into full spin. But Labour puts that at risk, because Labour hasn't said how it is going to raise what will in fact be £87 billion for the defence bill by the end of the next Parliament. And Labour has a history of voting against Trident in the past, that Keir Starmer has supported Jeremy Corbyn in the past, and Jeremy Corbyn wanted to take us out of NATO, wanted to take us out of our nuclear deterrent and so on. But, he can point to the dangers of Labour, but how does he explain the scandal and the corruption that has riddled the Conservative Party, the money that has been wasted? Carol Vorderman has done some accounting. She's very good at that, and she's worked out how much money has been wasted since Cameron came to power, and it is a staggering amount. So I don't think the country has been safe over the last few years. It may not be safe in the future. We can't be sure about the future, but we can certainly be sure about the past. And wasting money, throwing money away, is not a way of currying confidence, is it? And as for putting out 4 planes to commemorate the D-Day celebrations, he says he's going to, he's ordered a review into the planes. He's not got very much time. And he thinks that some of the planes are currently on operation in Gaza and elsewhere, and they simply need to be pulled in the right place to be ready to fly past and celebrate the D-Day commemoration. I must say, I enjoyed listening to Grant Shapps. It's, as I say, he's often somebody who is absent, so it's nice to see him popping up, and it's a bit like looking at a Muppet, isn't it? Popping up and having something to say, but I'm not sure he's right in the idea that Putin is only bluffing. Putin is merely bluffing. I don't think Putin is bluffing. If Putin were real, then a bluff by Putin might be in order. But the fact that Putin is a doll, is a puppet, is a figurehead, is a human mannequin stuffed full with filler and plastic surgery, means that when he says something, it's been written down for him to remember, and it's not impromptu rubbish. It's something that has been thought through. I don't think Putin is bluffing.